The desert night had fallen quiet, the kind of silence that carried an edge, where the wind whispered across the plains and shadows seemed to stretch longer than they should. Emily clutched her shawl closer around her shoulders as she made her way down the dirt path that wound from the canyon to the small settlement beyond. She hadn't meant to stay out this late, but errands had taken longer than expected, and the sun had dipped behind the jagged ridges before she realized she was walking, alone in the dark. The moon hung high, silvering the earth, but that's when she heard it, the low, mournful cry of a coyote. It carried over the land, sharp and chilling, and her heart pounded in her chest. She told herself it was far off, just an echo, but then another call came, closer this time, followed by the rustle of paws in the dry brush. Her steps quickened, boots crunching on gravel, eyes darting to every flicker of movement. A pack was gathering, shadows flitting along the edge of the path, yellow eyes glinting in the moonlight. Emily's breath caught as one stepped into the road behind her, teeth flashing white in a snarl. Her pulse roared in her ears as she tried to remember the stories. Never run. Stand tall, make yourself large. But what good could her small frame and shaking hands do against hungry coyotes circling in the night? She clutched her bag to her chest, whispering a prayer, but her legs were trembling too badly to hold steady. A growl rose to her left, and the hairs on her neck stood on end. It was then she thought she might not make it home at all, that these lonely hills would be the last thing she'd ever see. And just as despair tightened its grip, a crack split the air like thunder. The sharp report of a rifle echoed across the plain, and one of the coyotes yelped, scattering back into the brush. She turned, startled, and there he was, mounted on a chestnut horse, a tall figure outlined against the moon, broad-shouldered beneath a wide hat, his rifle still raised. He fired again, another warning shot, and the coyotes fled into the darkness, tails low, their hungry cries fading. For a moment, Emily could only stare, chest heaving, hardly believing what had just happened. The cowboy nudged his horse forward, dismounting in a smooth motion, boots striking the ground with steady confidence. His eyes met hers, fierce but kind, as he lowered his rifle and stepped close. "You're safe with me," he said, his voice calm as steady thunder rolling over the hills. Relief broke through her like a flood, and her knees nearly gave way as she tried to catch her breath. He reached out, steadying her with a hand that was rough from work but gentle in touch, and something in his presence, the quiet strength, the unshaken calm, wrapped around her like a shield. She wanted to speak, to thank him, but words caught in her throat. Instead, her eyes told the story, the silent gratitude that spilled out in tears she hadn't realized she'd been holding back. He didn't press her to speak, didn't make light of her fear. He simply stood guard beside her, scanning the shadows as if daring anything else to come near. His horse snorted softly, shifting its weight, and the smell of leather and gunpowder lingered in the cool night air. "Best not to walk this way after sundown," he said finally, his voice low. "Coyotes get bold when they sense weakness, but so long as I'm here, you won't have to face them alone." The words settled deep in her chest, warm and sure, and for the first time since the night began, she felt safe. He guided her toward his horse, lifting her into the saddle with ease before swinging up behind her, the leather creaking under their weight. She leaned slightly against him as they rode, the steady rhythm of the horse's hooves carrying them away from danger and toward the faint glow of lanterns in the distance. The night no longer seemed so terrifying with him there, his presence strong as the mountains surrounding them. And though she had only just met him, Emily knew she would never forget this moment, the man who had come out of the dark, who had lifted his rifle and his voice, and promised her safety in a world that had almost swallowed her whole. By the time they reached the edge of the settlement, the coyotes were nothing more than a memory, a whisper lost in the wild. But the cowboy's words stayed with her, etched into her heart like a vow, and she knew this wasn't the end of their story. Sometimes fate arrives not in gentle daylight, but in the darkest night, with a rifle's fire and a steady voice saying the very thing your soul longs to hear. "You're safe with me." And friend, if this story touched you, if you felt the power of courage, protection, and hope in the heart of the wild frontier, then don't let it be the last time you join us. Subscribe to this channel today, because more stories are coming, Stories of cowboys and courage, of women who find their strength, and of love that rises even in the harshest lands. Hit that subscribe button and ride with us into the next tale. You won't want to miss what comes next.